Most people who become millionaires through business don't do it through some genius idea nobody's ever heard of. They do it through one of a small number of proven categories, executed consistently for years longer than feels exciting. Here are 10 of them with the honest version of what each actually requires. 1. Home services, plumbing, HVAC, electrical. Skilled trades businesses have one of the highest millionaire production rates of any category, largely because demand is constant, competition is limited by licensing requirements, and margins on service calls are genuinely strong. The catch: this requires either years of apprenticeship to gain the trade skill yourself, or hiring licensed tradespeople from day one, which requires capital most people starting out don't have. Realistic timeline to 7 figures in business value. 7 to 12 years, typically starting as a solo operator and gradually adding trucks and technicians. The unsexy truth is that most home service millionaires built their wealth slowly through operational discipline, not a clever marketing trick. 2. Property management. Managing rental properties for other owners, taking a percentage of collected rent, scales well because the workload per property decreases as systems mature, while the revenue per property stays roughly constant. This is a genuine path to 7 figures in business value, particularly in markets with a large population of out-of-state or passive landlords who don't want to manage properties themselves. The honest catch: this business lives and dies on reputation and local relationships, which take years to build, and margins are thin per property. You need real volume, often 100+ units under management, before the income becomes substantial. 3. A niche e-commerce brand. Building a specific product line, not a general dropshipping store, a real brand with genuine product development around an underserved niche has produced real 7-figure exits, particularly when the founder identifies a specific, passionate customer base poorly served by larger competitors. Realistic honesty: the failure rate here is high. Most attempts don't reach meaningful revenue, and the ones that do usually required significant paid advertising spend, genuine product quality, and 2 to 4 years of consistent iteration before profitability, let alone millionaire-level value. 4. A specialized consulting or agency practice. Marketing agencies, specialized consulting practices, and similar service businesses can reach millionaire-level annual revenue relatively quickly, sometimes within 3 to 5 years, because the primary asset, your expertise, already exists before you start, and overhead can stay genuinely low. The honest catch: this category has one of the highest burnout rates of any on this list, because scaling usually requires either working significantly more hours or hiring and managing a team, which introduces an entirely different, often harder skill set than the original expertise that got the business started. 5. Self-storage facilities. Real estate combined with a genuinely simple operating model. Self-storage has produced real wealth for operators specifically because demand is remarkably stable across economic cycles, and the operational complexity is lower than most other real estate categories. Realistic honesty: this requires real capital to start, whether through personal savings, investors, or financing. This isn't a bootstrap from nothing category. Most successful operators started with an existing real estate background or partnered with someone who had access to capital. 6. A SaaS, software as a service product. Software businesses genuinely can scale to millionaire-level value faster than almost any category on this list, because the marginal cost of an additional customer is close to zero once the product exists. This is the category most associated with rapid, dramatic wealth creation in popular business media. The honest catch: it's also one of the hardest categories to actually succeed in without technical skill or capital to hire technical talent. And the failure rate for SaaS products that never find genuine product-market fit is extremely high. Most SaaS founders spend 1 to 3 years building something that never reaches meaningful revenue before either succeeding or abandoning the attempt. 7. A franchise of an established brand. Buying into an established franchise system reduces some of the risk of starting from scratch. The business model, brand recognition, and operational playbook already exist. Multi-unit franchise ownership, where an operator eventually owns and manages several locations, has produced genuine millionaire-level wealth for a meaningful number of operators. Realistic honesty: franchise fees and required capital investment are substantial, typically ranging from tens of thousands to well over $1 million depending on the brand, and success still requires genuine operational skill. The franchise model reduces certain risks without eliminating the fundamental work of running a business well. 8. Content and media businesses. YouTube channels, newsletters, and podcast networks that build genuine audiences have produced real millionaire outcomes through advertising revenue, sponsorships, and product sales to an engaged audience. This category has grown substantially as a legitimate path to wealth over the past decade. The honest catch: audience building is slow and unpredictable, typically requiring 2 to 5 years of consistent output before reaching an audience size that generates meaningful revenue, and the vast majority of attempts never reach that scale at all. This category has one of the widest gaps between the visible success stories and the actual median outcome. 9. Specialty contracting or construction. Beyond general home services, specialized construction niches, commercial build-out, specific renovation categories, disaster restoration, often carry higher margins than general contracting because fewer operators have the specific expertise required, reducing price competition. Realistic honesty. This requires genuine technical expertise, usually built over years working for someone else first, plus the operational and sales skills to run the business side, which is a different skill set entirely from the trade skill itself. 10. Acquiring and operating an existing small business. Rather than starting from scratch buying an existing profitable small business, often from a retiring owner with no succession plan, has become an increasingly recognized path to wealth, sometimes called search fund or acquisition entrepreneurship. This skips years of early-stage struggle by starting with an already functioning operation. The honest catch: this requires either significant personal capital or the ability to raise financing from investors or sellers willing to finance part of the purchase, plus genuine operational competence to actually run and improve a business you didn't build, a specific skill set closer to management than founding. What these 10 categories actually have in common. None of them are quick. The honest range across all 10, from starting to reaching genuine 7-figure business value, runs from roughly 3 years on the fast end, certain SaaS or consulting businesses with strong early traction, to over a decade on the slow end, home services, specialty construction. None of them work without either genuine skill, genuine capital, or genuine willingness to acquire one of the two before starting. The other honest pattern: every category on this list has a significantly higher failure rate than success rate. These are real documented paths that have produced real millionaires. They are not guarantees, and survivorship bias runs heavily through any list like this one, since the businesses that failed in each category rarely get discussed with the same enthusiasm as the ones that worked. What actually separates the people who succeed in these categories from the people who don't? Across nearly every documented case of business-built wealth in these categories, the same few patterns repeat: specialization in a specific, narrow niche rather than trying to serve everyone, reinvestment of early profits back into the business rather than personal lifestyle spending, and multiple years of consistent, often unglamorous operational work before the business reaches the scale where it produces genuinely life-changing income. The businesses that fail in these same categories most commonly fail for the opposite reasons: spreading too thin across too many customer types, extracting profits too early instead of reinvesting in growth, and abandoning the business during the multi-year period where progress is genuinely slow and unglamorous, mistaking that normal, difficult middle period for evidence the business isn't working. This is general information about business categories with documented wealth-building potential, not a guarantee of specific outcomes. Success in any of these categories depends heavily on individual skill, capital access, market conditions, location, and execution. Most business attempts across all categories do not reach millionaire-level value, and starting any of these requires real research, often professional guidance, and an honest assessment of your own specific circumstances before committing significant time or capital. Somewhere right now, someone is deciding between starting one of these 10 categories and continuing to wait for a better idea, a better moment, more certainty before beginning. The idea was never actually the scarce resource in any of these 10 categories. The multi-year willingness to keep going through the unglamorous middle was.